What is up everyone, it's TK and welcome back to another video. Now today we're going to be talking about super troops because this is something I actually never brought up on the channel, but I feel like there is a pattern. I feel like I can be the one to actually know what is going to be the next or upcoming super troop, and depending on what is actually their ideas and how do they choose these ideas is a very key thing that I want you to take a look with me today. So let's dive in and see this video. Now, firstly, I want to grab your attention to this little detail right here. If you take a closer look, our original home village troops, most of them have got their super version. This means obviously the team is a bit more confident and comfortable to bring super troops that are based on the original troops of Clash of Clans. Now, there is another pattern too that is very interesting, and I want to mention super troops are a bit the Supercell method to bring a troop back to life. This is something that I think it's the idea of super troops most of the time. It's not necessarily let's just bring a super troop that has a new mechanic just so people get used to that, or like changing the meta or something. That could be like some of their reasoning, but it's a very low percent. The other percentage is mainly about the entire troop itself not being as useful. So what do I mean by that? Well, if you take a closer look at the super wallbreaker, the wallbreaker itself was just not getting used that much anymore, and it wasn't really viable. It was really easily destroyed, so people tend to take more jump spell and earthquake spell. That way they could allow things to go in, or they would just simply have a nice little 10 wall breakers to try to open a lot of the layers early on in the base. So that's why the super wall breaker was something to bring and make it easier and make it a bit more interesting, and also make it viable and usable. And moving to sneaky goblin, no one really uses the goblin anymore because the sneaky goblin is just a very ultimate hybrid version of this troop, which it's just taking over because those troops are just not being used, like the giant. So the giant idea was higher town halls. There was just so much things you can use. There was golem, there was the lava hound, there was like literally ice golems or pekkas. That's why the giant completely was gone out of the meta. So what did Supercell do? They try to bring a nice version of this so they can make sure they give back some life to this troop. Same goes as archers and barbarians. These troops are being used on the lower town halls, but pretty much when you go a bit higher, no one really uses them. And if you take a closer look, there is obviously the super barbarian and the super archers, which are sometimes even dominating in the meta, like how we had back in Town Hall 15. So you can see the pattern, right? Something like the miners weren't getting used that much, so that's why we had the super miner. Something like the regular minions weren't being used, it was just a cleanup. So they brought super minions, trying to bring some life and some adjustments to that troop. So with this being said, it goes away to a lot of the troops that currently are super troops. And one thing I want to mention is that if you guys take a look at two troops that are here, which is the E-Dragon and the P.E.K.K.A., these troops have been getting used on the lower town halls. They have not been in the meta for such a long time. So what do I think? Well, I think in the future we're gonna have two super troops that are gonna be connected to these two. I know the team makes some nice jokes about the super dragons, or sometimes like, okay, E-Dragon is just in the talks, but I feel like that joke could actually become a reality. This is something that Supercell might actually want to troll us with. So we're just joking around it, and suddenly there's an update with the super dragon in the base, and it's gonna be crazy. But my reasoning for the P.E.K.K.A. is pretty much obvious. It's literally the same pattern as the other troops. The troop has been used in the lower town halls, it's not being in the meta for such a long time, and it's completely useless except when it comes out from a siege barracks, and it's actually not even connected. Same goes as the giant, for example. It comes out from the siege barracks, but it's not really doing much. So obviously the P.E.K.K.A. in the siege barracks is very good, but the P.E.K.K.A. itself as a troop is dying out. It's not in the meta and it's not being used. So a super P.E.K.K.A. can really make things interesting. But what would the Super P.E.K.K.A do? What do you guys think? Do you guys think the E-Dragon can just chain through multiple things a longer time? Or do you think Super P.E.K.K.A maybe could be something like the Evo P.E.K.K.A in the Clash Royale mode, where whenever he kills something, it gains HP. So if it shoots, or like not shoots, if it just targets a building and takes it down, he could add to its HP, something that we don't have in Clash of Clans right now. And it's quite interesting. But for the home village troops, obviously there is also the healer, but I don't think the healer will get a super healer, because obviously we have the droid, which was another healing stuff. So I don't think they're gonna add another healing thing in the game, because the healer is obviously on every single army right now, no matter if you're doing smash, if you're doing queen charge, if you're doing warden walks, if you're doing root rider spam attacks, healer is there. So I don't think they're gonna bring a broken version of the healer, because there is no point. People use the healer. So this is the pattern I'm trying to show you guys, and I think it's going to be very, very interesting. And from the upcoming, like a bit earlier troops, like for example the thrower, the root rider, the electro titan, these are the troops that I don't think ever are going to get like a super version, because they are already in the meta, first thing first, and secondly they're a bit tanky, and they are heavy troops that are a bit viable rather than the other troops, which are not really viable, to be honest. So that's why I don't think they're gonna get a super troop. But for the rest of the dark barracks troop, I was looking at them and I couldn't really find a good one that could possibly be not used, or like brought a super version of it, because the dark troops are actually very usable, and the ones that are not usable, they already got super troop version, like the super polar, the super witch, the super lava hound, or you want to call it the ice hound, the super valkyrie. Like dark barracks has a lot of super troop as well, don't take me wrong, but I think the regular barracks, the home village OG troops, could get a nice little super troop, as I mentioned, the E-Dragon and the P.E.K.K.A. Let me know down below what you think, because I think this is the pattern and the kind of, I would say, line that they're gonna go with, and the idea of what are the super troops, how do they help the meta, how do they change something, and how do they bring life back to a certain troop that has not been used. Hopefully I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care and peace.